Okay, now that we've covered left tear and right tear, let's cover the high and low tears. What we got here on the board right now is a high tear, okay? So what a high tear is going to look like through paper is your point going in here and your fletching coming out high like this, okay? That's going to also look like, if you're bare shaft tuning, the bare shafts are going to hit underneath the fletch shafts. Keep in mind the bare shafts steer opposite of the paper tear. That's all you need to understand about it. Same thing with your broadhead tipped arrows. They have steering surface area on the front of the arrow. They're going to steer and hit low if you have a tear like this through paper. So if you want your broadheads to come into your field points, you need to make the adjustment for a high tear in this scenario. Now let's go down to the corrections. Now, a high and low tear is more about the nock travel in the particular bow system. You have single cam bows, you have hybrid cam bows, and you have binary cam and two cam bows. There's a few of them still running around. Two cam and binary cam bows have basically two cams that are the same. They're going to have very good vertical nock travel. Usually if you have them perfectly timed, you shouldn't have much of an issue at all with vertical nock travel. Single cams on the other side, you can get a variety of different tears vertically based on the spine of the arrow. And some people say it's the arrow spine. That's not true. It's actually the nock travel. And I would just encourage you not to worry about too much where your nock point lands. Your hybrid cam systems like Hoyt's and the drive cam with PSE, they'll have a little vertical in it that can be tuned out somewhat. But these are the actual corrections. And they're kind of in order of importance. So the first correction we're going to do is simply lower our nocking point. So we're going to take our loop and we're going to run it down the string. That's going to correct a tear. And some people freak out if it gets below 90 degrees. I don't think it's a big deal, especially with hybrid and single cam systems, if that's the pervasive nock travel of the bow. The other thing that you can do, which I do primarily because I tend to tie my loops in place once I get close, I raise and lower the arrow rest for my fine tuning. So if I have a high tear, I am going to raise the arrow rest. That's going to correct this right tear or this up tear. Okay. You can also do things like, if you're dealing with what we talked about, like a PSE or the hybrid cam system, one of the things that you can do is slow down that top cam. That top cam, when you're getting a high tear, it just means that that top cam is taking more string than the bottom cam and not delivering that string nice and even. Okay. So we can slow down the top cam timing and correct that tear a little bit. We can also do the opposite, which is speed up the bottom cam. So this just slightly changes the timing in the system and corrects that nock travel. If you've heard people talk about it, creep tuning, when they talk about creep tuning a bow, and this is kind of thrown around in the higher ends of tournament archery, that's basically what they're doing. They're adjusting the nock travel in the bow to where they get less highs and lows when they creep. One other small thing you might experience if you just can't get rid of it, you can adjust your launcher tension, the spring tension in your rest, or if you're using a launcher blade in a target bow system, you can. I've had bows though that you had a low tear and had to stiffen the launcher up, and I've had bows that you had a high tear and had to stiffen the launcher up. So keep in mind, just make some adjustments there, and that can help you correct a high tear. High and low tears are pretty simple to correct. You should be able to get it mostly with the nocking point and raising your arrow rest. If you're really meticulous about having to have that nock point at 90 degrees with some of these hybrid cam systems, that can be very difficult. Personally, I don't worry about it. If my nock point's an 1/8 or 1/4 inch under center, or a 1/4 inch over center, or even a 1/2 inch over center. I've had the first pro tournament I ever won, I shot a Matthews Ovation that had it tuned with 3/4 of an inch high nock. It was crazy, but it shot beautifully. So I wouldn't overly worry about that. These corrections should be very simple, not quite as hard as the right and left tear, and these should correct a high tear for you.